we are going to be talking about finding the area of trapezoids today. So we're going to jump right in to our first activity. The first way that we can find area of trapezoids is by doing something called decomposing. Let me back up a little bit. So if we wanted to find the area of the shape here, we can actually break it into familiar polygons that we know how to find the area of. So if we take a look at it, we can actually see a triangle, right? Pretty much right there. We also see another triangle on the other side and a rectangle. So we can use each of those pieces to then find the area of the whole shape by finding the area of the pieces. So if we were to do that, the first thing that we would do is find the area of one triangle here. So we would do 3 times 5, right? And we would take 1/2 of that, which means dividing by 2 or multiplying by 1/2. Either way, it's the same thing. So 1/2 of 15 would be 7.5. Find the area of the rectangle. We do length times width. So 7 times 5, which is 35. And then we'd find the area of our other triangle. 2 times 5 is 10, but we want 1/2 of that, so that is 5. We would then take each of those pieces and add them together. We would find that the area of the trapezoid as a whole is 47.5. Now, could there be other ways to decompose this trapezoid? So if we went back to the original shape, is there really any other way you could decompose it? Possibly, maybe you want to make a triangle here, so then you're ending up with 2 triangles, but it wouldn't be as easy. This would probably be the easiest way to do that. The second question we want to consider is, will this result in the same area? Yeah, it will. We're not adding anything and we're not taking anything away, so the area will remain the same. So that is one way to find area of trapezoids. The second way is to actually use a formula. So if we were to find the formula, we would be using the bases and the heights. Now remember, we talked about on Tuesday that the bases are the parallel sides of a trapezoid. So this is one base and this would be another base down here at the bottom. Okay. So if we were to label that, there we go, base 1 and base 2. Doesn't matter which one's base 1 or base 2, not really. Just use the parallel sides as bases. The height is just like the height of any other shape, right? It goes from the base, one of the bases, well in this case both because they're parallel, from the base, and it runs perpendicular. Okay, so remember, we're always talking about those right angles. It has to be at a right angle. So when we find area, we are using a formula to do so. Let's see. So the area of the trapezoid is 1/2 of the product of the height, h, and the sum of its bases. So this is what our formula actually looks like. What you're going to do first is add together the length of the bases, both bases, and then you're going to do 1/2 of the height times the bases. Okay? So that is what our formula will be. So let's practice using that. So here we are given a trapezoid. We have 6 and 10 as our bases, okay? And we have 5 as our height. So once again, we have 2 different ways we could do it. We could decompose it, right? Or double it and then have it, okay? You could flip it over like this. And then you do 10 plus 6, which is 16, and multiply by 5. That's one way you could do that. But then you have to divide by 2. The second way is to actually use that formula. So the length of the base of the parallelogram is 10 plus 6, or 16 feet. Height of the parallelogram is 5 feet. So we want to do then 16 times 5, which is 80. So the height of this or the area of this parallelogram would then be 80 square feet. But remember, our trapezoid is only 1/2 of that. So then we would divide by 2 to get the area of 40. So the trapezoid itself has an area of 40. Now the second way of doing this is finding using the formula. Now remember, it's basically doing the same thing, okay? So once again, we find the area by replacing h with 5. The base 1 plus base 2 is 10 plus 6, or 16. So then we go ahead and do it. 5 times 16. Well, we figured out that was 80, and we take half of that, which is then 40, to get our answer. So we have the same way, whether we are composing or using the formula, and that would be the correct answer. So 40 is our area. So we are going to move on now by taking a look at some right trapezoids. So here we have Osceola County, Florida. It resembles a trapezoid. What is the area of this county? So we're going to do the same kind of thing that we just did. There's several different ways you can do this. You can compose, you can decompose, or you can use the formula. If we were finding the area here by using the formula, we replace all of those little variables, right, or placeholders with their actual values. So the height is 51, base 1 is 48, and base 2 is 16.4. We add 48 plus 16.4 to get 64.4. Then we multiply and take half of it, and we would get the answer of 1,642.2 square miles. It tells us right there. So why is one of the sides of the trapezoid the height? Well, let's go back to our picture. In this case, we have a right angle. This is a right trapezoid. So because the height or the side meets at a right angle to the bases, that would just be considered our height. We wouldn't have to take it from anywhere else in the shape. We could take it from right here, right? Extending to this corner, we could do that, but it would be the same height as this side here because it is a right trapezoid. All right, so we're going to move along right now and see if there's anything else we need to cover before we move away from this. So one last thing that we're going to talk about is how to find a missing dimension. So when we were working previously on finding missing dimensions, I talked about how we would work backwards through the problem. If the last step is dividing by 2, we would start by multiplying by 2. And it's the same kind of thing for this kind of problem. So if we have an area of 108 feet squared, we're going to start with that number there. So we're going to drag each term, okay, because we want to figure out what we know and what we need to find. So what do we know? We know the area. We know base 2 and base 1, right? And what we need to find is the height. So to find the missing dimension of a trapezoid, we're going to use the formula that we had, right? And just replace what we know. So I'm going to put in that we have 108 feet squared as our area. So that's going to go here. We have base 1 and base 2, and we're still missing the height. So when we do a problem like this, I will grab some paper here and we will work it out. Sorry, I gotta find some paper here. We are going to work through the problem. Okay, so if we know that we have 108, okay, right, we know 108 equals 1/2 h, and we know 12 plus 15, we can go ahead and solve there. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is add right here. 12 plus 15 is 27. Okay, I still have a half of the height. Okay, what I can do is, to get rid of this 1/2, is multiply by 2. So I'm going to take 108 times 2, which would give me 216, equals h times 27. Then I would divide by 27. So I'm going to take 216 and divide by 27. I'm just going to take my calculator, because I can, and we would find that the height of this problem would equal 8. And we could check by going back through the problem and putting 8 in for the height. Okay, so let's see, what does it say? We work through, we can now try this kind of problem the same way here. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Like I said, the first thing that we want to do is multiply that 21 times 2. So if I do that, 21 times 2, I'd get 42. Okay, then I'm left with 2 plus 5, which is 7, and multiplying by our height, right? So then we would divide by that 7, okay? So 42 divided by 7, our height would then be 6. And we should have gotten that correct. Okay, now, so that's how we find a missing dimension. You want to work backwards through the problem. Start by multiplying your area by 2, then by dividing by the bases, the addition of the bases, the sum of the bases, and that will get you the missing height. Okay, so your assignment is posted in Schoology. Please go ahead and check that out. If you have any questions, let me know, and have a great day.